gamers who are familiar with a lot of the retro stuff have at least vaguely heard of the Phillips CDI. Whether it's because you've seen videos such as the AVGN's coverage of it, or whether it's because you had the misfortune of actually playing one, or because you've seen all of the meme videos about the horrendous cutscenes in Zelda and Mario on the system, you've probably at least heard the name Phillips CDI. Now, let's not get this wrong. Most of the games on the CDI are trash. You're looking at bad puzzle games, bad shoot 'em ups, interactive software. This console was not one known for its good games, or even really its unique games. Even unlike something like the Panasonic's 3DO, it didn't have a whole lot of exclusive games that were really interesting for the time and that took advantage of its hardware. In fact, even being on a CD, most of the time, all you got was a little animated intro before you got into the main game. Similar to the Sega CD, I guess. The Mega CD. And of course, once the PlayStation was out, all hopes of this system ever taking off were completely demised. PS1 was a juggernaut and just basically killed all the rest of the competition that wasn't named Nintendo. But I'm going to show you that there are a few games on the system worth playing. Ones you've probably heard of, a couple you may not have heard of. So let's go dig out the system and we'll see what we can find. Too many cords around here. It would be right at the bottom. So before we get into the main video, I'd like to establish some ground rules. Two things. Firstly, these titles must be exclusive to the CDI. They can be ports of other games, but they must have updated features, and they cannot be on any other system. So things that were ported from the Panasonic 3DO with no upgrades, or MS-DOS with no upgrades, not making the list. There are some good games that were ported over, but because they're on other systems, and because you can play them for free on MS-DOS pretty much these days, I would not consider them as being worth playing. The second point, I'm only putting in games that I consider truly worth playing. So there are decent, sports games, there are a couple of decent, educational games that do some weird things, but because I don't consider them to be really, really fun and addictive, I'm not considering them as being essential to sit down and play. So, without further ado, I'm immediately breaking the first rule to introduce the first game. Tetris! Tetris on the CDI, to my knowledge, is not ported from anything, so it doesn't really break the first rule, but it still kinda does, because it's still a port. There's a version of Tetris on everything, but I don't know any other version of Tetris that's quite like this. It is just the standard game of Tetris, you've played it a million times before, but the presentation and the ambiance is really good. You get these short animated backgrounds, like a waterfall, and you can actually see the water tumbling down, and it makes it really fun to play, because you get this animated background, and you get this really soothing music. Just listen to it. Makes sense after I edited music into the video. My wife is looking at me like I'm crazy. But I do consider it to be a unique and game worth playing just because of those things. The next game is Hotel Mario, and obviously I know what you guys are thinking. This is the meme game. This has been covered by a million people before saying it's an awful game. However, if you do give it a chance and don't compare it to the other Mario games, I think there is something to be enjoyed. It's a puzzle game, sort of. It's like a puzzle platformer where you have to destroy all of the enemies on the screen. And in that way, it's kind of like a sequel to the original Mario Bros, where you had to bounce on all of the enemies' heads to clear a stage. I'm not sure when that game was released, but this one's also really fun. Now, there is some goofy things about it. Mario's little dance after he completes a level looks really weird. And there's not a whole lot of variation. But every now and again, you do get a weird cutscene, which definitely makes it worth it, as if you've been watching the memes for as many years as I have, probably over a decade now, you can immediately recognize them and go, hey, this is where it's from. So give it a go. I think you'll enjoy it. Just don't jump when an enemy is on the floor above you, because the game will consider that as the enemy hitting you, which is definitely bullshit. But it's a CDI game. You get what you get, you know. Trust me, it's better than some of the other options. Next up is what I would consider to be the strangest game on this list, and maybe the strangest game of all time. This is a puzzle adventure game, kind of point and click kind of style, called Alice in Wonderland. Obviously it's based on the famous Alice in Wonderland book, but it really captures the atmosphere of the book in that it's just truly insane. It's like you're dreaming while you're playing this game, because you can't imagine a reality where someone would actually sit down and program this game. Basically, you just wander around, you talk to the different characters, and when you talk to a character, it'll go into this strange, creepy claymation look, which looks far different from the actual game, because the actual game is pixelated graphics, and the graphics don't look very good. But the clay animation, I have to say, actually looks pretty nice. Eventually, you fall down the rabbit hole, you enter Wonderland, and it just gets crazier from there. I don't think you're going through exactly what the book is going through. Like, a lot of the characters are omitting. There's some stuff that's not there. There's a lot of puzzles to figure out, and a lot of stuff I just could not figure out myself. But it's definitely worth playing just to try. And I think if you play it, you're going to remember it, and in that way, it is worth playing. Next up is a game called The Apprentice, which on any other system would be probably considered to be a hidden gem. Now, this is a puzzle platformer where you scroll vertically upwards, and you play as a magician. It has very bright graphics, it's very colourful. The controls are pretty good, for the CDI at least. It's not perfect, but it is a lot better than a lot of the others. What gives it that worth playing feature is kind of its charm. And there's a lot of, once again, like Alice in Wonderland, there's some weird stuff you see. Now, this is a one-hit kill game, so it is very, very difficult in places, but that just adds to the challenge. It is a short game, so if you do intend to play, maybe like put aside like hour and a half, 2 hours, and you can power through this game, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's definitely worth playing. I enjoyed playing it myself. But I also enjoyed playing the CDI Zelda game, so maybe I'm a different kind of gamer in what I look for and enjoy. The next game is well known among CDI players and collectors as being probably the best game for the Phillips CDI. That's not saying an incredible amount, given that it's not a system known for having good games, but this is one that's definitely worth playing, and if it was on PC, I could definitely see it having a massive cult following. It's a cyberpunk-style game called Burn Cycle, where, if I remember correctly, your character only has a certain amount of time to live before his head explodes, and he has to find a way to, remove the device. I'm going off of memory here, so that could be completely different, but I remember it being very interesting, very adult. I think your wife or girlfriend dies within like the first 5 minutes of gameplay, and it's like a really stylized kind of shot of how she dies. It's all FMV, so it actually does take advantage of the CD technology. The actual game itself is mostly point and click adventure, so think of it as being similar to some of the old PC adventure games like Myst. It's actually very much like Myst, in, especially in terms of sometimes not knowing where to go. So if you are looking just to absorb the story, there is a full playthrough online that's only like an hour and a half long, so it's only about the length of a movie, and it shows you everything that happens in the game. I definitely consider it to be worth playing. This one is a bit expensive though, so if you are going to look for it, it is one of the more sought after games for the CDI. However, you can just burn CDI games onto a blank disc and play them on the system, so it's not a massive hassle. This last game is one that I've actually not heard recommended really at all, whether it be on forums or on Reddit or anywhere where people talk about the Phillips CDI, and it is Escape from Cyber City. The original footage that you're seeing is based on an old anime. It's like Galaxy something 999. I don't remember the exact name of it, though I did watch it at one point, and it was very good. The game is pretty much a clone of Dragon's Lair, but with shooting elements. So you have to shoot something as soon as it pops up on screen before it has the chance to shoot you, and full game's probably like 10 minutes long, but it'll take you hours and hours to get it because stuff appears on screen immediately and you have to immediately shoot it. So you have to kind of dedicate the knowledge of where stuff is going to appear to muscle memory, otherwise you're going to just get killed again and again. Galaxy Express 999 is what it's called. So it's definitely worth playing. I enjoy it more than something like Dragon's Lair because I find Dragon's Lair, it's kind of, you don't really know what you're doing at all. While in this one, it's like, you can see what's coming for you and you can prepare for it. You do need split-second reflexes. It does take a while to get used to it, but there's a gun attachment for the CDI, so if you want to use that, I guess you can. You can use it on Mad Dog McCree, Crime Patrol, stuff like that. And you can also use it for this game. And there you go, my wife materialized beside me. Thanks, babe. So those are a handful of games for the CDI that I do consider to be worth playing. I could make another video of this, but I don't really own any other weird systems with mostly bad games, so I'll just stick with the CDI for now. I do have another CDI review that I wrote years ago. It's about a Christmas game, so expect that one to be uploaded by Christmas, I guess. I wrote the script, I need to find it. It's on a hard drive somewhere, and it's for a bad Christmas game that I, for some reason, sat down and beat all the way through. But thanks for watching. I'm going to have a pickups video soon, so people that hate this review stuff, not a whole lot of people watch it, but I enjoy making it. So I'm going to keep making them just every now and again when I have the time. Probably on the weekends when I'm not tired. But yeah, thank you for watching. This is Steve in my house, bidding you guys farewell. Boop.